Hello, this is Gilbert, and I'm going to be reviewing Inspiring Philosophies. What is the Trinity? It's a question that really confuses me, this Larry Shamp 3-in-1 thing.
What is the Trinity? Many skeptics seem to misunderstand this important doctrine of Christianity as a pagan idea or a modalist idea.
Well, what we understand is what Christianity professes. It's not something that we're making up. Historically, there's some feeling that, you start out with a God and you added a Holy Spirit to pacify some pagans who believed in mysticism and spirits. I'm not too sure what modalism is, but my whole thing is the logical absurdity. How can one thing be three things and yet one thing?
But a brief explanation of the Trinity will explain that neither of these are correct. The core doctrine of the Trinity can be said in three sentences. There is one God. God is three persons. Each person is fully God.
And see, that's what the problem is. So you're saying that we have a problem with modal and pagan interpretations, but that isn't the problem. The problem really is here. There's one God. That God is three people, and each person is fully God. It's just illogical. God is God, and Jesus is Jesus. He was born of a virgin. He passed up. I don't even know where this Holy Spirit comes from.
This differs from a modalist understanding, which would say there is only one God who reveals himself in three different forms or persons, whereas the Trinity says there are three coexisting eternal persons who exist as one God. The Trinity also differs from a pagan grouping of gods, who say there are three different gods who are simply one in purpose but are fully separate, whereas the persons of the Trinity are not different gods, but one God. Most of those who misunderstand the Trinity tend to classify the Trinity as one of these, but they are both incorrect. The Trinity is not one God revealing himself as different forms, and the Trinity is not three different gods. The Trinity
That's the thing also that most people in the world. So the people who don't believe this. So you have your Christians. But the people who don't believe this, the people who believe in Allah, and the Jews who build, and they're a small minority anyway, the Jews, let's say, and the Hindus and the Buddhists and the atheists. Um, our problem is not your internal dialogue between paganism versus modalism. Our problem is that you have something that just doesn't make sense. It's illogical. It, it I mean, it just is.
is one God who is three persons, and each person is fully God. The first person of the Trinity is the Father. He is the source of the Godhead and all things. He is transcendent, uncaused, beyond mere existence. He simply is. The second person of the Trinity is the Son, who is the Word of the Father. He is
So we're just going to sit through you going through these biblical interpretations of stuff. It doesn't clarify anything. It doesn't add anything. The issue that you're facing is that you believe you have one person who is three people. That's the problem.
eternally begotten of the Father, uncreated, begotten, not made. His source is in the Father, and humans can approach the Father through the Son. The third person of the Trinity is the Holy Spirit, who is neither begotten nor created. He eternally proceeds from the Father. He is the active agent of God in the world and the guide of the church. His source is in the Father as well, yet he has always existed. It is important to mention that the members interact with one another in the world. The Father sent the Holy Spirit like a dove onto the Son at his baptism. The Son sent the Holy Spirit at Pentecost. The Father created the world through the Son and the Holy Spirit. So there is present
And there's no
interaction between the
explanation
Trinity.
there. Do you
Now, one
understand?
the Father is
You're talking
God in the
about three
Son. The
distinct
Son and the Holy
entities
Spirit are not
being
less in
one.
power or divinity. They are all eternal and all fully divine. They all coexist as one God, yet as separate persons of one undivided essence. They are eternally loving and love one another in perfect harmony. So there is no disagreement or division within the Trinity, because they share only one nature. A good but not perfect analogy has been likened to the sun. There is the star, the heat, and the rays. As long as the star has existed, it has been generating rays, and heat has
All
proceeded.
right. Listen, the star is the star. When heat comes off of the star as radiation, it no longer is the star. The heat is not the star. The rays are not the star. The light is not the star. If a meteorite crashes into the star, it becomes part of the star. If a chunk of the star comes off and travels out in space, it is no longer the star. This is the problem. You just don't seem to get it. And I think you don't get it simply because you don't want to get it.
Proceeded from it. Likewise, as long as the Father has existed, he has been pouring out his being into the Son, and the Spirit has been proceeding from him. So it is important to understand what the Trinity is. There are three persons of one God who coexist eternally as one God. Each is fully God and fully divine. The Holy Spirit and the Son submit to the Father's authority because there cannot be two masters. They find their source in him, yet have always existed. So again, there is one God.
So they find their source in him, but they've always existed. And you come after us atheists, the atheists who believe in the Big Bang, or the atheists who believe that the universe, not this universe, but all universes have always existed, and that one universe flows into another universe that is becomes a new universe, and we cannot perceive of what came before it, but it's eternal. So you have this problem with us, those atheists who do believe in the Big Bang, or those atheists who do believe um, that what we perceive as the universe is eternal and presented itself in different forms. You believe that that's problematic. And yet here you simply assert something you cannot possibly know. And you simply assert that. And what's your evidence? Your evidence is the words that you say and the words that you cull from a book that's like 1900 years old and another book that's a little older than that, written by people in an old civilization who had no idea that the earth was round, who had no idea that there were stars out in the universe, who had no concept of anything like we have today, and you rely on their belief system and on their words. This is really, it's just ludicrous. Let me also say that I don't think you're ludicrous. I respect your right to have these beliefs. I don't have a problem with you believing this. But when you try to prove it, the concepts that you use, I think, are ludicrous. I think they're also illogical. So I would like to have a conversation with you where it doesn't devolve into calling each other names and things, but where, because you genuinely believe this, and I would like to understand why you believe this, or I would optimally like to be able to um, repeat your belief system in such a way that you would say, yes, that's what I believe, and have you repeat my belief system so that you understand where I'm coming from. Maybe we can have a hangout at some point and have a discussion about these things. I've written a long comment to another video of yours. I find it easier to write than to appear in front of this camera.